Hi, this is Thierry Samlal from PMML. Today I'm presenting to you the market statistics for multifamily for the province of Quebec and for the month of October 2024. So looking back at the statistics of October 2024, we're seeing a lot of transactions. I've chosen 10 transactions for you here, but those are amongst many transactions that closed in October 2024. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of buyers on the market. We have a record number of accepted offers at PMML right now. Buyers and sellers have a lot of confidence in the market. The CMB rates have been stable over quite a long period of time, varying a bit, but dropping quite drastically, permitting interesting interest rates on the market. The MLI program now is really understood by the buyers. A lot of people have refinanced with it. There's a lot of dry powder on the market right now. Rents went sky high in the past 2 years. We're waiting on another high rent increase that's going to be permitted by our legislative body here, which is the TAL that takes care of the rent increases. So we're in a context where there's a lot of confidence. That added to the fact that at the time I'm doing this video, we already know that Donald Trump is going to be reelected. And that creates a lot of stability in the market. Why? Because Trump is a real estate guy at the basis of it. He's putting in his cabinet different, very active players that are already in the real estate market and teaming up with them in his cabinet. So that creates a lot of confidence. We're seeing that confidence build up quite fast in the United States. A lot of investors here are looking what's going on the cross of the border right now and are using that as leverage for their own confidence. So there's a lot of factors coming into play right now. Dry powder, CMB, which is good, MLI Select, financing programs, which are good, private lenders, which are back on the market now with new CHMC legislation, and also buyers willing to take higher risks, knowing for value-add projects, which are easy to play with because of their location and the fact that usually what the buyers are buying right now are buildings which need very little renovations. So that plus the fact that news is good for investors, real estate investors in the United States right now, and that's picking up and translating into Canada. So let's go see, without any more delay, the 10 top transactions. A very strong transaction for a new asset, 2024 construction, the Alba building, built on René Lévesque East, which is downtown Montreal here, built in a joint venture with Mondev and also Hill Park Capital, which are two extremely strong long-term players in Montreal, which have great reputations. Sold to a joint venture between InterRent and Crestpoint. InterRent and Crestpoint, two institutional players that are very active on the market and that have partnered up before in British Columbia, in Vancouver, and did a deal for more than 600 units together first time. That went really well. Did a second deal with a third player. That went really well. And now they're coming into Montreal and buying this asset. Why are institutional players coming together? Well, first of all, with everything that happened post-COVID, now what the institutional players are trying to do is to buy long-term assets, concrete, high-rise, extremely well-located assets, built by builders of great reputation, and they're splitting the risk in two. So InterRent is taking some risk, Crestpoint is taking some risk. What that permits to do is to not put all of your eggs in the same basket. So reducing the risk, putting a little bit of money in this deal, and maybe putting a little bit more money in the other deal. And at the same time, well, two players coming into the file, each could bring his own knowledge and his own competences to the management of the asset. Each could bring in different players and therefore splitting the risk. Really interesting transaction, close to 107 million for 248 units. A transaction that took place close to 430,000 per door, which is more or less what we're seeing on the market right now for newer assets or assets that were built in the last 10 years. So interesting to note what I just said is that we're seeing assets going for 430,000 per door that were just built, but we're also seeing assets that already have a couple of years of age of the same type going for the same price. So it's a question of availability, it's a question of location, and in both cases, it's a question of value add on the rents. Very important. Let's go into Sept-Îles. Sept-Îles is northeast of Quebec City. You need, basically, you could drive there, but you need to take a plane there. It's much more easy. It's a mining city at the basis of it. So there's mines. It's in the mining regions of Quebec. And Sept-Îles right now is knowing a maximum rent capacity. So the city is full, and all that is due because of the mining industry. So we have a transaction here for a portfolio of buildings that were built between 1973 and 1974. We have a 12-plex, 224-plex, 127, 129, 133, and 136-plex, all sold in a portfolio by a buyer that's very active in the region and that bought this for somewhere between 80,000 a door and 83,300 per door, basically. Now, in that area, we saw different buildings go for up to 100,000 per door and even 110,000 per door. And now we're seeing a transaction here at close to 83,000. So 83,000 per door, 80 to 83,000 per door is the pricing that we were seeing in Sept-Îles maybe a year ago. So probably what happened here is the buyer locked in a deal on the long term with the seller at the time where the values were maybe a little lower and comparables were more in his favor. Probably took the MLI Select program and probably squeezed out, when to get maximum capacity here. So there's a little equity left in the asset, but still, Sept-Îles being completely occupied right now, there's almost no vacancy in Sept-Îles. Well, therefore, the capacity to increase the rents is maximum. So I understand why the transaction took place at this value here. And when you're seeing a region, a large transactions like that in the regional markets, you know that the central markets are going good. So very good news for the province of Quebec. Now, let's go to Gatineau. We have a 2013 construction here, bought in Hull. Hull is right across the Ottawa River from Ottawa. The asset's almost in front of Musée des Beaux-Arts, so close to Highway number 5, and between the two bridges going to Ottawa. So from that point, in this small high-rise built in 2013, 178 units, you could go to your downtown Hull. You could just cross the bridge, go to Ottawa. And what's happening is that the price per door is much cheaper on that side of the river, and the rents are much cheaper on that side of the river. So we're seeing renters go from Ottawa, cross the bridge, do that low traffic time, go into do that traffic time. But at the same time, don't forget that in Ottawa right now, they have a big problem is that a lot of the government workers are working from home. So people are looking for cheaper rents. I mean, why live in Ottawa when you can live across the river and pay much cheaper your rents? And that permits for more tenants to cross the border. And that permits for buyers to buy assets at a cheaper price per door and have a better chance to increase the rents over time. So here we have a Montreal-based buyer that's been on the market for a long time, family office type, that's buying this asset for close to 208,000 per door. So really interesting to look at that. We have a transaction here downtown Montreal, close to my offices here in the Southwest, 122 units, 2024 construction that were sold between companies which are linked together. So it's not a real sale, but still it's a comparable for the market. A transaction of 122 doors that went for 314,000 per door approximately. So interesting to see. We'll follow that asset over time to see if it's resold and how it performed. But just for you to know that that transaction took place and it's now comparable on the market. I've always been talking about transportation. If you're in Ottawa, if you're in Toronto, if you're in Montreal, if you're in Quebec, wherever you are, there's a large request for units that are close to transportation services where the renters basically can rent without having a car or diminishing their fuel consumption by only having one car. The cost of life these days, people prefer to get rid of the vehicles and to go for public transportation. And when you're in an urban area that permits that, well, you're able to get higher rents. And that's what's going on right now. So we have a buyer here, which is very, very active in the Hochelaga and Maisonneuve region in the eastern part of Montreal, and that bought right in front of the Olympic Stadium, which is a land hallmark here for people that are outside of the city. Everybody knows the Olympic Stadium. You have a big stadium. You have the stadium complex. You have a cinema. You have a planetarium there. You have the Biodome there, which is an interior zoo-type park. You have the Botanical Gardens. You have the Maisonneuve Park. And you have also the Impact soccer team, which plays out of there, and other teams which go to the Olympic Stadium, etc. So it's a great location. The metro station is literally across the street. You could cross the street and just walk into the subway and go directly down to downtown Montreal in minutes. So it's a great location. Buildings were in pretty good condition. Two buildings, two 1963 construction, 228 doors, went for a very low price. One, $132,000 a door approximately. The other one, $139,000 per door approximately. In an area where the average price per door is $200,000, it's an extremely good deal for the buyer. And I saw the outside of those buildings. They're in great condition. So a deal that went on there, but it's a comparable in the market just to show that from time to time, there's deals available on the market. Let's go to my number 6 transaction that took place in Verdun. 2 members of our team here did the transaction, one on the listing side and the other one on the buyer side. A great team up here. 50 units, 1960 construction, 5-story building, very well located, close to a metro station, immediately next to a commercial street. And Verdun right now is very trendy. So it used to be a rundown area with older buildings, but now we have a lot of younger clientele there. And we have a grunge style street being developed, meaning people are taking old locals, not putting a lot of value of CapEx into them, of TI, but they're just doing the minimum renovations, but they're offering great services like great coffee shops, great pastry shops, stores, restaurants, amenities, bars. All that is going into that area, and it's attracting a lot of younger clientele that don't want to pay the prices of downtown Montreal, but that want that proximity. So that's what you're seeing in Verdun right now. And this transaction went for $183,000 per door, close to a 4 cap, very close to a 4 cap, but with still a lot of value add. And it just shows how much a cap rate, the price per door doesn't mean much. What means something on the market right now is how much money you could put out of the deal in 5 years. That's important. The rest, I understand that people work with cap rates, that's fine, and price per door, that's fine. But I think that what we have to start looking at now with a market that's changing that rapidly is how much money we could take out of the deal, how much money stays on the deal on the mid to long run. I'll go really quick for the rest. Plateau Mont-Royal, you know it. It's close to downtown Montreal, close to the mountain, a very European market as far as the tenant base. 1966 construction, 42 doors, went for close to $182,000 per door. That's great in the market where the average price per door is $200,000. Knowing that there's smaller units in this building, the price per door makes a lot of sense. That's a new comparables. Finding something lower than that on the plateau right now is impossible. Sainte-Foy, let's go to Quebec City. 36 doors, $141,000 per door. That's pretty cheap. I think that's a great price. Cantley, 1990 construction. So it's a region again. Once again, regions. When you're seeing that regions are going good, it's because the overall market's going good. 30 units, 180,000 per door for a 1990 construction. If you have a recent building, say 20 to 30 years of age, you know that it's still in good condition as far as plumbing, electricity, insulation. You know that the roofs probably have to be redone. The windows probably have to be changed. But if you're working with the MLI energy efficiency program, that's just an excuse to get them done. And you could still pick up a lot of value because there's a lot of buyers that are looking for younger assets that are willing to pay the right price for them. So if you have something which is, say, 1990-ish and above, you could be surprised how much it's worth on the market. Let's stay in that same order of thought, and let's go see another building in Sainte Foy, 2011 construction, 28 doors, went for close to $202,000 per door. So you can see that the market now is picking up in value, and that the more recent buildings are selling for higher prices, and there's a lot of activity in the market right now. A lot of new, younger buyers on the market, backed by investors that they're putting together, love money investors that they're putting together. So a lot of new buyers on the market, a lot of old timers, very well established buyers on the market at the same time. And now we have institutional players teaming up to come into the market and buy. So great opportunities. Try to lock in an offer before the end of the year if you can. I mean, if you're active on the market, now's the time. We don't know what the market's going to look like in the beginning of next year and what inventory is going to be available. So, you know, if right now, as I said before, we have a record number of offers accepted at PMML. So that's reducing the inventory because we do control a good part of the market as far as listings. So if you're active, please give us a call. So I hope this information is going to be valuable to you. I wish you best of luck in your real estate adventures. PMML.ca for our opportunities. If you have any questions at all in the market, just give me a phone call, send me an email. It's going to be a pleasure. And we'll see you next month for my next market report. Take great care.